It's the book of Mark, chapter 12, verse 29. And YHWH answered him, the first of all commandments is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Shema YASHARAHLA Yahweh AHLAHAYANAWA Yahweh ACHAAD. Amen.
Amen. Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
How y'all doing, brothers and sisters? Y'all see the title? I know I went over this a couple years back. Some people was asking me more questions on it. So we're gonna go over it. We're just gonna get right into it. Just read the verse, Colossians 3:11. And then we're gonna start extrapolating some understanding of this, right? Read the verse, my good brother.
It's the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 11.
Come on.
Where there is neither Greek nor Jew.
There's what?
There is neither Greek nor Jew.
So there's neither Greek nor Jew, right? Go ahead.
Circumcision nor uncircumcision.
Circumcision nor uncircumcision. Come on.
Barbarian.
Barbarian.
Scythian. Bond nor free.
So this right here is a perfect place where Christians go to, right? They go here and they try to say, well, what about, okay, you're saying the Greek are Jews or Israelites, or what about the Scythians or Scythians? What about the barbarians, right? Because what Christianity has done is something known as replacement theology, right? And and I'm just going over one verse and one aspect of it, right? We can go to many verses that they teach this, but this is a very good verse that I've even seen Israelites not be able to break down. I'm being 100% honest, right? So to understand the Scythians and the barbarians, right? We're gonna go somewhere first. Go to 2 Kings 17, right? Let's go somewhere real quick.
17:1.
No, 1 second. 2 Kings. 1 second. My phone been bugging all day, man. It's kicking me out of apps. Can't even look at what I want to look at. My notes. It's amazing, man. Esau, man.
Yep.
You know? So 2 Kings, let me just go there. Okay, 17 and start at verse 5.
It's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
Where's Samaria? Anybody? Hand? 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 And then I thank you. Go ahead.
It's Samaria.
It's the capital of the northern kingdom, which lies in the territory of Ephraim. Correct. So this is the besieging of the northern kingdom of Israel, right? This is not the only time, right? This is the beginning process of it, because many times they were sieged by kings even after them. Come? So go ahead, read it again from the top.
This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, and verse 5.
Go ahead.
Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Assyria, Samaria, and besieged it 3 years. Verse 6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria.
And they carried Israel away into Assyria. Let me ask a question. Can they just walk there?
Yeah.
Are there rivers?
There is a river.
What river?
The
The Euphrates. Can they walk there?
No.
Can you walk on water, bro?
No, you can't walk on water.
No, you can't. So what is this also a fulfillment of? Just because I got another class on this too.
I'll be 28, 68.
Deuteronomy 28 and 68. They are more than, it's more than just the transatlantic slave trade of Israelites going into captivity in slave ships. Because if they're being carried away into Assyria, right, and then being placed in certain cities, they have to cross rivers, right? Isn't that obvious? They're not going to walk across the river. They're not going to put a staff in the water like Moses and split the seas. They're going into ships. You understand? Go ahead. Read it again from the where it says Israel away into Assyria. Start there.
And carried Israel away into Assyria.
Come on.
And placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gazan and in the cities of the Medes.
And in the where?
In the cities of the Medes.
Where's the Medes? That's right next to Persia. Right next to Persia, which is Iran, right? Going into that area. So that's two rivers, the Euphrates and the Tigris. So you see, these Israelites were carried over and placed in the cities. Now, the city of the Medes is very important in this lesson. All right. And a further lesson, I'm going to go into something else. It's going to be called, right, pretty much this book, right? Can y'all see that? That's the post-captivity names of Israel. So what this shows is after the captivities of Israel, how their names began to change, right? Let's look at just some names up here. You got Qumri, you got Galatia, you got Iskusa, you got Scythian, right? These are just a couple names, because what the problem with a lot of people is they be like, they try to just find the name Israel everywhere. If I'm taking somebody into captivity, why would I call them Israel when Israel means the prince of the power, the prince of God, the sons of God? I'm not going to go and be like, these are the sons of God. Like, no, I'm going to rename them and I'm going to give them labels and titles. Con? And that I'm going to go more into that on the next lesson. But to go into that, we're going to go into this first. Understood? All right, go now. There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of history in this lesson. Just letting y'all know. Abaya, you could do me a favor. Go into the PowerPoint. We're going to break this down. You got it, Abaya? There you go. Make this. I don't want to see none of this because you got it right there anyway. So read it again.
2 Kings.
No, this.
It's Colossians 3:11, where there is neither Greek nor
There's neither Greek. See, we're gonna break this down point for point. That's what we're gonna do. So where there is neither Greek, okay, go to the next slide. So you see the word there for Greek is Hellen, right? I actually touched on this the last class. I'm going to be touching on this a lot more and just keep revisiting a lot of things, all right? So you see in the Thayer's lexicon, right? A Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek islands or colonies, right? So either Greek by nationality or somebody who is native to the land. It's just like being an American. You understand? Look at the second one. In a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not Jews. This is what I will call theology. This is not the definition at all. What happened over the years, and I keep reiterating this, is people begin to redefine words, something known as semantic changes. Look at something so prevalent right now, the word gender. Now, right? The word gender now is not the same as when we were children. Now, gender has nothing to do with sex. But bro, what? Huh? What are you talking about? I'm non-binary. What the hell does that mean? All right. So it says, in a wider sense, the name embraces all nations, not Jews, that made the language, customs, and learning of Greeks their own. So they're kind of like almost cutting themselves in their own definition, right? If you actually read it, the primary reference is to a difference of religion and worship. Now look at the Strong's definition, right? Same thing, Helen, right? Or inhabitant of Hellas. By extension, a Greek-speaking person, especially, they always got to add this in, a non-Jew, Gentile, or Greek, right? So these are the definitions that a lot of your Christians will use today, because these are definitions you can download with the app. You can download Strong's on your phone right now.
Right.
And a lot of people will get misconstrued and not understand, right? Let's go to 2 Maccabees 4:15. Let's go into the scriptures real quick, and then we're going to go right back to the PowerPoint. 2 Maccabees 4:15. Matter of fact, start at 12.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 12.
Mm-hmm.
For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself,
Mm-hmm.
and brought the chief young men under his subjection,
Mm-hmm.
and made them wear a hat.
Made them wear that small hat, right? The hat of Hermes, which is why the small hats wear that today. But go ahead, keep going.
Verse 13. Now such was the height of Greek fashion.
Now such was the height of Greek fashions. Come on.
And increase of heathenish manners.
And an increase of heathenish manners. So what's going on is the children of Israel are keeping the customs of the Greeks. So what would they be called? Greeks. Keep reading.
Through the exceeding profaneness of Jason,
Mm-hmm.
that ungodly wretch,
Mm-hmm.
and no high priest,
Go ahead.
that the priest had no courage to serve anymore at the altar,
Go ahead.
but despising the temple,
Mm-hmm.
and neglecting the sacrifices.
So the priests, instead of being a priest of the Most High, they began to be priests of Greece. You understand? Go ahead.
Hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance
Mm-hmm.
in the place of exercise.
Go ahead.
After the game of discus
Mm-hmm.
called them forth, not setting by the honors of their fathers,
Go ahead.
but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
So they did not no longer want to live by the honor of their fathers. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, Joshua, and the list goes on, right? They didn't want to live by the honor of their fathers. They liked the ways of the Grecians, right? Just like today, right? Tell somebody, oh, you keep the laws of God, right? You can't celebrate Christmas. You can't, what? Christmas? Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day just passed, right? Or is it today? What the hell today is it? It was yesterday. All praises, right? That was yesterday, man. You understand? And that's something that is paganist, right? It has nothing to do with being an Israelite, right? Valentine's Day coming from Lupercalia, right? Christmas coming from Saturnalia. These are all pagan holidays. Con?
Con.
And if y'all doing that, right, the Most High gonna deal with you.
Right.
Go back to the PowerPoint. Next slide. So this right here is something that you have to buy. You can't just, you see, that's my book. You can't just download this. So let's see the original definition of Helen, right? Read that. Read out the first one. You see the source, a Greek English lexicon of the New Testament and other early Christian literature, right? By Walter Bears, right? Also known as the BDB, right? The Bibles dry bricks, right? Yeah, read that.
It says the first one is a man of Greek language and culture.
So it's a man of Greek language and culture. So if somebody spoke Greek, right? If somebody followed after the culture of Greeks, they would be under the definition of a Hellen, right? Read the second one in a broader sense.
The second one, in the broader sense, all persons who came under the influence of Greek.
All persons who came under the influence of Greek. Did Israelites come under the influence of Greek?
Yes.
Absolutely. That's obvious. So going back to Colossians 3:11, the first definition, the first term there, neither Greek, that's Israel. Obvious, right? So we can scratch that off now, right? Keep going. All right, we're gonna stop there, right? We're gonna go back to the previous slide. I jumped ahead a little bit too much. Get the book that I sent you. We're gonna go into the book real quick, the Encyclopedia of Jewish Diaspora, and we're gonna go to where it says, go to where it's talking about the Hellenization of the Israelites. Now, most people won't buy the book because look what's in front of it. They'll be like, "Who the hell is these dudes?" But in the book is a lot of very good information. It's just like most people won't buy a book like this, right? Right? The Mysteries of the Middle Ages. You're gonna be like, "What the hell is this? Middle Ages, Europe?" Nah. In this book, you're gonna learn a lot about the black sovereignty in the Moors. Right in this book. You know what I'm saying? This guy. All right, go back, go to the book. Go to where, look in the the table of contents and go to Hellenization. What page is it?
Hellenization.
It's right there, Rock. You just missed it. It's right there, Rock. You gotta read, brother. Go up. Go up right there. Diaspora in the Hellenistic period, page 8. I'm gonna go there with you. All right, go ahead and you can start reading that when it comes on. Gotta keep going down. Page 8. I start off with the first paragraph. Yeah.
Is Diaspora in the Hellenistic period. A considerable amount of evidence is available for a diasporic existence outside the land of Israel as of the late Persian period. And this guy moving it.
Gotta keep it still. Yeah.
He's trying to focus this. In early Hellenistic era. It was Katz 2006. We know
you don't got to read none of that, none of the
quotes.
Nah, just read.
We know of the Jewish community in Elephantine, Egypt.
You could look them up, especially during the Persian era. It's called the Elephantine Papyri, where they were writing back to Israel, trying to understand how to keep the Passover, because through the diaspora they forgot their ways, right? Because they were synchronizing pagan traditions with the Passover, right? Yeah, keep reading.
And of many additional Jews who arrived in Egypt at the beginning of the Hellenistic period. Thus, a growing Jewish existence is found in Alexandria, the Fayum,
which is in Egypt. Go ahead.
And to a lesser extent, in other places in Egypt, the literary evidence emanating from the Jewish diaspora in Egypt is relatively rich. In Egypt, the Jews became more and more visible as a significant ethnic group
Mhm.
as is clear from the remnants of the anti-Jewish literature that
It's emanated there.
emanated from their, was that Menethon?
Yeah.
As
Nathan.
Menethon, as well as all the authors that Josephus mentions in the book of Third Maccabees.
All right, jump down. Third Maccabees is garbage, by the way. But jump down to the next paragraph. Much can be deduced. Third Maccabees talks about angels, enslaved Egyptians. It's a lot of crazy stuff in there, man. Don't read it. It's waste of time. Yeah, read that. I could never get those hours back. Read that.
Focus. There we go. Much can be deduced about Jewish life in the Hellenistic diaspora and its ideas of ideologies through the writings of Philo and Alexandrian, as well as from the translations of the Bible into Greek, the Septuagint, which took place for centuries during the Hellenistic period. In the 1st century CE, two sources stand out for their importance. First, the Jewish antiquities of Josephus, which occasionally describes, in particular in books, was that 13 FF, the situation in the Mediterranean Jewish diaspora, and second, the excellent overview of the Jewish diaspora found in the book of Acts.
In the what?
In the book of Acts.
In the what?
In the book of Acts.
Go ahead.
And Paul's letters.
So this right here is saying that these small hats, they understand that when they read the book of Acts and Paul's epistles, they understand that this is talking about the diaspora that happened during the Hellenistic period. Yeah.
We also have some evidence from the Hellenistic era of a diasporic existence in the East. Early on from Josephus, the book of Tobit.
The what?
The book of Tobit.
The book of Tobit, which was written during when? When the northern kingdom was in Assyrian captivity. So you see that there wasn't just people being sent, and we read that in 2 Kings. They went to the east. So it wasn't just people that lost their heritage and nationality and began to be labeled under different names during the time of Greece. It was even happening before then. You understand? Go ahead.
In early rabbinic literature, Jewish communities outside.
We're going to read this last not chapter, paragraph. We're going to read one more paragraph, and then y'all could, this is easy. You could download this PDF for free, and y'all can read the whole thing. This book even goes into Jews in the west coast of Africa, all over the place. It's a very good book. Yeah.
Jewish communities outside the land of Israel could be traced first and foremost by their communal life, their
adherence.
Yeah, I was just making from the moves. Their adherence to Jewish law and beliefs, and their adherence to Jewish scripture. Examples being the Hebrew Bible and the synagogue, an institution that became central to the communities in the diaspora.
Go ahead. Further.
A further strong common denominator was the linkage to the Holy Land and to the temple and its institutions. The Jewish diaspora in whatever place outside the Holy Land never gave up the longing, even if just sentimental and theoretical, to become again a reassembled national entity in the land of Israel.
Keep reading.
This is a central element in Jewish theology in the diaspora in antiquity.
Why are they saying this? Because they knew that the Jews once again will reunite and come back to the land. That's why even before the time of Christ, they went into places that was provinces and sovereignty of Greece. And what did they do? They began to set up synagogues. That's why you get the Hellenistes from in the book of Acts, where these were Greek-speaking Jews. The difference was they were people who spoke Greek but kept the Jewish law or the laws in the Torah. You understand? But then you had the Hellenes, who primarily, right, depending on the context, were people who were coming back to the understanding of who they were and what they have to do, right? Through the blood of Christ having a second chance. But it depends on the context. It all depends on the context. Keep reading.
This is a central element in Jewish theology in the Diaspora in antiquity, which does not necessarily contradict the extent to which Jews were syncretistic
in their organization,
in their organizational systems and spiritual life. Recently, it has been argued that the Jews in the Hellenistic diaspora had no desire to return to
Greek-speaking Jews. Go ahead, watch this.
Had no desire to return to the Holy Land.
Had no desire to return to the Holy Land. Go ahead.
And gradually lost touch emotionally and physically with it, and its Jews as well as with their Holy Bible. Moreover, the Jews in the Hellenistic diaspora, according to this view, lived safely in relative security, and they did not suffer attacks from their Gentile neighbors.
So since they began to form underneath the religions and ideologies that they lived amongst, they didn't have to worry about being attacked or persecuted for their beliefs. Go ahead.
This claim cannot be accepted because...
See, this claim can't be accepted, though. Go ahead. Because
in the first place, there is clear evidence for sporadic attacks against Jews, physical as well as verbal. Second, the Jews were always attached in one way or another to their Bible.
So there's an argument in academia, especially amongst the Jews. We never lost our culture. Why? Why would they say this? One minute they're telling you they did, the next minute they're saying they didn't. It's because the people themselves that are in the land claim to have a lineage of their culture going all the way back to the time of Babylon. So it's to push their agenda. You understand? If y'all want to read more, there's a lot of more good information in here. Go back to the PowerPoint, right? Back to the PowerPoint. All right, read it.
Colossians 3:11, where there's neither Greek
nor Jew. Dealt with the Greek now, nor Jew, right? Because of course there was a split in the kingdoms, right? The kingdom of Judea, if you lived there, you were called a Jew. That it doesn't mean you were of the tribe of Judah, right? Primarily, who was there? Who was there, Gabar?
Benjamin, Levi.
Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Were there other tribes there? Yeah. Right, but it was a small remnant. That's why even in the New Testament, you had the woman from what? The tribe of Asher. You understand? So of course there was a small remnant there, but primarily the northern kingdom was scattered, including with the southern kingdom being scattered. But just to prove that who was there primarily, let's get Ezra during the rebuilding of the second temple. Ezra 1. Y'all walking with me so far?
1 and 1.
Yeah, you could start at 1 and 1.
This is the book of Ezra, chapter 1, verse 1. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia,
he just went over there last night, right? I'm not bugging. Look at that spirit. Read. Which is you know, it's about 538 BC or 537 BC. Scholars argue, but it's around that time. Yeah.
That the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled.
Because he prophesied this to happen. Go ahead.
The Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah.
Come on.
Who is there among you of all his people.
So who is there among you of all his people? Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5. Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin,
Go ahead.
and the priests and the Levites.
So that's who was there primarily. Judah, Benjamin, the priest, and the rest of the Levites. That is the Nord Jew. You understand? Now, where it says circumcision nor uncircumcision, the circumcision were primarily the priest in power in the land, right? The men who were teaching and keeping the law. You understand? The Pharisees, the Sadducees. Who is the uncircumcision, right? Who are those people? The people who are scattered abroad. We went over this the last time I taught. This was a byword and a term used by the powers that be in Israel for disrespect. It's like calling somebody a heathen. Right? Or yeah, this nigga is a snake, man. Right? It's the same exact thing, right? So easily the circumcision or uncircumcision are also what? Israelites. Let's get Romans 3 real quick first. Romans 3:1 to prove who the circumcision is real quick. Just quick little precepts. And then we're going to show the uncircumcision.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 3 and verse 1. What advantage then have the Jew?
Go ahead.
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
Come on.
Much every way.
So what advantage has the Jew? And what profit is there of circumcision? You see how they're correlated together? So the Jew is the one that is of the circumcision. That's why in Acts chapter 15, what did they argue against? You men can't be saved. You have Pharisees coming from Judea saying, nah, y'all can't be saved because he wasn't circumcised under the manner of Moses. You weren't circumcised on the 8th day, man. That's what they were saying. We all know that's not true, right? We know that if Christ died for your sins, he also died for the transgression of being uncircumcised. You understand? Now let's go to back to 2 Maccabees 6 and 6 to understand the uncircumcision. And if brothers got any questions or precepts, y'all can always let me know. I'm not going too fast, right? Y'all good? Huh? All right, all praise. I guess so. 2 Maccabees 6 and 6. Yeah.
It's the book of
Everybody just looked at me. Huh? You can hear, man. That's how fast I'll go, right? I got slow down. All right, 2 Maccabees 6 and 6. Yo, yeah.
The 2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts.
Ancient feasts. Ancient feasts. Gotta learn how to pronounce the old English, brother. Go ahead. Read it again. Read.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
You see that? So he couldn't even say he was a Jew. Now you good, brother. I did that before too. So you couldn't even say you were a Jew. You couldn't keep the Sabbath. You couldn't celebrate your holy days. Go ahead.
Verse 7.
Jump down to verse 8.
Verse 8. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices.
Come on.
And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death.
See, they will put to death. This is real. There's historical documents that talk about this. Go ahead. It's the same spirit as when they came over here, the conquistadors, with a wooden cross and said, bow down to white Jesus. And they burned alive natives. They lynched so-called African Americans. This is what they did to our people, right? It's the same exact spirit. Okay.
Then might a man have seen the present misery. For there were 2 women brought who had circumcised their children.
And look what they did. Read.
Whom when they had openly led round about the city, the babes handing at their breast, they cast them down headlong from the wall.
You see that? So they killed the babies that were circumcised. So what would that force the woman to do?
Not
Circumcise their children, because they were in fear of their children being killed. Go to 1 Maccabees 1 and just get straight to the point, verse 15.
This first Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 15.
Go ahead.
And made themselves uncircumcised.
Say what?
And made themselves
Go
uncircumcised
ahead.
and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to mischief.
So you see that? They made themselves uncircumcised and began to follow after the ways of the heathen. See that? This is what it means, circumcision, the people in the land, keeping the laws, circumcised on the 8th day, and the uncircumcision.
God.
So what Paul is doing is he's showing Christ came to be all the Israelites. That's all he's doing.
15.
In 1 Maccabees?
First Maccabees 1 and 15.
1 and 15. All right, let's get back to the PowerPoint. Get back to the PowerPoint.
Colossians 3 and 11.
Now you see, no, brother. No, brother. Hold on. Yeah, read that.
Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision.
Now you see, we dealt with all of that so far. This is honestly the easiest part. Greeks, yeah, everybody knows Israelites were Hellenized. Jew, obviously, it's a Jew. Circumcision, obviously, that's a Jew. Uncircumcision, we understand that during the Hellenistic era, what? They weren't circumcising their children, let alone they were uncircumcising themselves. How? I don't know, but they were doing it. Right? They were doing it. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. Pause. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. But now, barbarian. This is something that has to be understood. Right? And I'm gonna go through the definitions of it, and then I'm gonna go into the history of it. Con?
All
right, go into what I sent you on from Bible Hub. You're gonna leave the PowerPoint and go into that link. Read that. Read the Strong's Concordance first.
The Strong's Concordance, barbaros.
Just to go to usage. Yeah.
The usage, a foreigner who speaks neither Greek nor Latin.
So this is somebody who does not speak Greek or Latin. Okay, that's one understanding. Jump down to where it says helps word studies. Hey, X that out, that little out of this world savings. We ain't trying to save nothing. Read that.
Properly a barbarian, generically anyone lacking culture.
So anyone lacking culture. What does the white man always do? This is how you know this spirit is cyclical, man. There's nothing new under the sun. Good.
He say that he descends from monkeys.
He says you're uncivilized.
Yeah.
That's where everywhere these people are uncivilized. So without the white man, Greece and Rome did the same thing. So they began to label certain people that would not fall underneath their reign and not fall under their province and not actually be under subjection under them. They called them barbarians. These people are uncivilized, right? Even the word barbarian, barber, right? Barber is a beard. That's what it literally means. Barber is a beard. You understand? So that's where you get the word for barber shop, where people cut hair. You understand? So the word barber, that's where you get it from, barbarian and barber. They all have the same root, because why? These were bearded men. Romans and Greeks were known for what? Shaving their face, a clean shave. You see that with the politicians today. You understand? So these are how words began to evolve over time.
Right.
You understand? Yeah, read the rest of it. Is an
uncivilized person is specifically used for for all non-Greeks.
Non-Hellenists, you see, specifically used for all non-Greeks, meaning people who did not want to follow the Greek culture. They refused to be Hellenized. Okay?
Anyone not adopting the Greek language.
You see that?
Or culture.
Or culture. Go into matter of fact, you can scroll down. You can read the exhaustive real quick. Scroll down a little bit.
Want the word origin?
Mm-hmm.
The word origin of uncertain origin, but probably onomatopoeia.
Okay.
For unintelligible sound. Definition: barbarous. Barbarian.
Go down to Thayer's lexicon. Just read some of that real quick. Just read what's darkened.
All right. On the first one whose speech is
clearer. Yeah.
One whose speech is rude, rough, harsh.
So this is talking about people who don't speak Greek or Latin. They said these people's language was rough, harsh. This is what they said, right? Go ahead.
The second one who speaks a foreign or strange language which is not understood by another.
You see that? Go ahead. The third one. Go down.
Any foreigner ignorant of the Greek language and the Greek culture, whether mental or moral.
You see that? So these are the different usages of this word. All right. Go into the next link I sent you. I'm just showing you all the avenues of it. Then I'm going to show you people who historically were called barbarian, and we're gonna give an understanding on it. Con?
Barbarian. Foreign of another nation or culture. From medieval Latin barbarinus. The meaning of or pertaining to savages, rude, uncivilized.
And you see the dates is giving from the 1590s, how the definitions change over time. Semantic change, right? Read the next one.
Barbarian.
This is exactly what I want. Watch this, go ahead.
In reference to classical history, a non-Roman or non-Greek, earlier barbar, non-Roman or non-Greek person, non-Christian, person speaking a language different from one's own.
So you see, once again, how the word changed. But there's something that I want specifically. Drop down a little bit to where it says Greek, barbaria. Watch this.
Greek barbario, it's a plural noun, meant all that are not Greek. But especially the Medes.
The what?
The Medes.
The what?
The Medes.
Who was in the city of the Medes? Read that. We're going to read it again. We read it earlier. We're going to read it again. Go ahead.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes.
And the where?
In the cities of the Medes.
So especially the Medes and Persians. Even in Josephus, what did the people of Samaria say they were? We Medes. We ain't Jew. We ain't dealing with them. That's in Josephus. Right? So this is showing you, okay, yes, of course, this word can be applied to people who are not Israelites. But in the context of Colossians 3 and 11, if the Greek was an Israelite, if the Jews an Israelite, if the circumcision is an Israelite, if the uncircumcision is an Israelite, who's the barbarian? Obviously, it's a byword that he's using for Israelites. You understand? Go into the next link.
Where did the word barbarian come from?
History.com. Fair use. Okay.
Wait for some words.
Zoom in a little bit, my good brother.
The word barbarian, a little bit. originated in ancient Greece
Mhm.
and was initially used to describe all non-Greek speaking peoples, including Persians, Egyptians.
Hey, brother, you took it off. What happened? You still see Abayak there?
He's here, but the other one.
Give me 1 second.
He's coming back.
There you go. Salakia. Go ahead.
He's messed up. The word barbarian originated in ancient Greece and was initially used to describe all non-Greek speaking peoples, including Persians, Egyptians, Medes, and Phoenicians.
Now, were Israelites in Persia? Yes. Egypt?
Gone.
We just read that. Media?
Gone.
What about Phoenicia? Absolutely. Read.
The ancient Greek word barbaros, from which it derives, meant babbler and was onomatopoeic. Yeah, what he said.
Onomatopoeic.
Onomatopoeic.
Yeah, you good. Just read.
This is Greek, brother. In the Greek ear, speakers of a foreign tongue made unintelligible sounds. Bar, bar, bar.
Bar, bar, bar. Right? Go ahead. You're going off, man. Go ahead.
Similar words exist in other Indo-European languages, including the Sanskrit.
Now, the Indo-European language, which also including the Sanskrit, actually came from the land of the Medes, which is going to begin to tie the lesson together as we go on in the PowerPoint. Go ahead.
Barbara, which means stammering. It was the ancient Romans who, by the original definition, were barbarians themselves, who first transformed the use of the term. Late in the Roman Empire, the word barbarian came to refer to all foreigners who lacked Greek and Roman traditions, especially the various tribes and armies putting pressure on Rome's borders.
Because how did Rome fall? Ancient Rome fell by 10 tribes that began to attack them. This is why when you read Revelation 17, he's using what is going on at the time to also give something prophetically with the 10 horns and the set. All of this can be applied to ancient times. That is also prophetic. It's the same. That's what prophets always did. They explain things by their setting. You understand? Just like the 7 hills, right? There were 7 hills of Rome. But then we know that there are certain 7 major kingdoms that began to rise after Rome fell. So it's something that's dealing with something historic and something dealing with prophecy. You understand?
No.
That's how the Lord works. He works in the past, present, and future. Huh?
Gone.
Yeah.
There was never a single united barbarian group, and many of the different tribes, including Goths,
The Goths,
Vandals,
Saxons,
Huns.
You knew I was gonna do it like that. The Saxons. Go ahead.
Huns,
very important.
Picts, and many more shifted alliances over the years or fought alongside Roman forces against other barbarian armies.
All right, now we can go back to the PowerPoint. It's going to be a lot of reading, so if you need a break with reading, you want to switch with Barak?
As long as he read the scriptures, I'll read it.
All right, come. So now we're dealing with Barbarian, right? It's going to be more reading here, brother. Just saying. It's going to be a lot. All right.
Got 2 waters.
Got 2 waters, all praises. Next slide.
Let's hope with the big one.
All right, you're gonna have to can you make it like on the screen, the whole screen? You can take me out. They don't want to see me anyway.
Right.
That's off, brother. All right, show the book first. Let me show the book first so you can see where I got this from. Damn, bro. All right, so you see Europe's barbarians from AD 200 to 600. Okay, now you can zoom in and begin to read. We're going to start to understand some things.
In this book, I am going to deal with the barbarians who lived in what is now regarded as Europe. I am going to ignore the barbarians of North Africa.
So you see, there's not only barbarians in Europe, there's barbarians in North Africa. Go ahead.
Notably, the people who are still called by a word deriving from Barbary, the Berbers.
The Berbers. Oh, go ahead. I don't care. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And the barbarians beyond the southeastern Roman frontier.
Go ahead.
The Arabs, who would, around the time that this book ends, have more of an impact upon the Roman world than any other non-Roman people.
Go ahead.
And within Europe, some barbarian peoples are much better known to us, or sometimes, to be honest, to me, than others. In the West, the Irish.
The what?
The Irish.
The Irish was known as what? They were barbarians, but they was Israelites. We're going to get there, brother. Watch. Go ahead.
At least from the 6th century onwards, have supplied us with a wealth of material, even though they are frequently left out of any discussion of the barbarians.
Go ahead.
At the eastern end of the continent, the various Slavic-speaking peoples have left us with nothing save archaeology, and much of that has been published in the languages which I cannot read. For those two reasons, the history of the Slavic peoples is not covered in nearly the depth that I would have liked, nor with anything resembling authority. What I shall do is remind readers that despite what they might conclude from some books on the barbarians, by no means all Europe's barbarians were Germanic speaking. There were 3 other groups of barbarians in this period who, like Germanic speakers, spoke languages belonging to the Indo-European group of languages.
Watch this.
That is Celtic-speaking peoples.
Celtic-speaking peoples, right? Which were the Gauls, which has a root in Galatia, which has a root in Gamari, which has the root of the Bath Cumri, which has a root in the sons of Omri. Who are the sons of Omri? Who are the sons of Omri?
Israelites.
But how can you prove that? If you go down the list of the kings of the northern kingdom in the 9th century, I believe 848 BC, I believe it is. Around 848 BC, there was a king known as Omri. If you look at the black obelisk of when Israelites was being carried away, and you see Jehu bowing down, he was known as Bath Cumri, which meant the sons or the house. That's what Bath means, the house of Omri. So when they went into captivity, they didn't go into captivity known as Israel. They went into captivity known as the house of Omri. And through different dialects, going into Gamari, went into Gauls, which is where you get Galatia from. That's where you get the country of the Galatians. Then them going into Europe, they be the Gauls, and eventually became known as the Celtics or the Celtics. It's a lot, but go ahead, read. He said, "Damn."
Celtic-speaking peoples, Slavic-speaking peoples, and those people speaking Baltic languages like Latvian and Lithuanian. But there were also peoples whose languages were quite unrelated to Indo-European, like the groups of the Turkic speakers who arrived in Europe from Central Asia during this period. Notably, the Huns, the Avars, and the Bulgars, and some of those who lived by the Baltic, like the Finns and the Estonians, who spoke varieties of Finno-Ugric Ugrian. Although their linguistic cousins, the Magyars, did not arrive in Europe until after the period covered in this book.
All right, now we're going to go to the next slide.
Got a lot of weird names.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh, we're going to talk. We're going to go. Oh, yeah, that's in there.
You think biblical?
So we're going to read a little bit more on this book, right? A little bit more on this book. Go ahead.
It needs to be emphasized that the barbarians I shall be writing about have nothing in common with each other except that the Greeks and Romans labeled them barbarians.
You see, just proving that it's a label. Being barbarian doesn't show any specific group, but the barbarians were primarily in Europe. They were Japheth, because remember, Esau through Macedon conquered Greece. Through Greece, he conquered Rome through Romulus. That's why it became known as Rome. And with Esau, the so-called white man, subjugating those lands, then he began to do the Roman expansion and began to conquer other lands in Europe and began to fight a lot of the Japhetic people who were also dark-skinned people. But through the diasporas of Israel, they also went into Europe and began to be labeled as barbarians. You understand?
Done.
Okay, go ahead. Keep reading.
That word, barbaros, in Greek and barbarus in Latin, had two meanings by the period which concerns us.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, it meant non-Roman, someone who came from outside the Roman Empire. But secondarily,
So you see, non-Romans was also called barbarians. Yeah.
But secondarily, it meant barbarous. That is someone who was not civilized.
Go ahead.
There may have been people who identified themselves in certain circumstances as barbarian.
Go ahead. Now scroll down, bro. Now keep up with the reader.
But for the most part, it was a word applied to others,
Mm-hmm.
pejoratively by Romans.
All right, next slide. Y'all walking with me so far, right? All right. It's gonna start connect. A lot of dots are gonna start connecting.
Some stuff.
So you see, read the title of the book first.
Paul's territoriality and mission strategy.
Right?
According to St. Jerome, under the Pax Romana, the Jewish communities underwent a period of great prosperity all the way from India to the western tip of Africa.
From India to the western tip of Africa. Right? Read.
Their numbers were bolstered, as well as the 30,000 Jews that Titus, a prominent general prior to becoming Roman emperor in 79 to 81, had deported from Israel to North Africa after the fall of Jerusalem and the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD. By this time, there were scattered all over North Africa a large number of Jewish communities who had taken refuge there, or who, according to Josephus, had been enslaved and subsequently redeemed by their co-religionists. The Jews built synagogues and elected leaders who strove to endow the community with a strong and efficient foundation. The chain of events occurred once again following Bar Kokhba's insurrection.
There goes the word bar again. Go ahead.
Insurrection from 132 to 135. The failure of his revolt led directly to the expansion of the Jews of Israel. Expulsion of the Jews in Israel, who had also been enslaved and redeemed by their North African brethren.
You see that once again, another same book, the Jews of North Africa. So what are you seeing? Barbarians in North Africa and Jews in North Africa being labeled as barbarians. Next slide.
As much as he traveled, it makes sense why he used Scythian and Barbarian, because he would have.
What was that? What was that?
It would have made sense. He knew about the different identities we had from how extensive he traveled. So it would have made sense that he named and included them in the scripture.
Con. All right, you see the book, Ancient and Modern Britons. Now we're going to touch a little bit on Europe again. Zoom into the highlighted part. That's pretty much all we're going to read. Right? Y'all can get this book. It's cheap. You get this book for $30, $40 on Amazon. Very good read. Right? The first book is better, though. Yeah. First one better. Yeah?
The Huns are described as being of a dark...
Of a what?
Of a dark...
Wasn't the Huns and the other source known as barbarians?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
The Huns are described as being of a dark complexion, almost black.
You see that? So they were not what you see on your TV screen when you see a bunch of Huns with animal skin on, right? With paint on their face and they're white. No, the Huns were dark-skinned people, man. All right, go to the next. Go to the next one.
So in the 13th tribe, was he talking about them?
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna read that. Now you see the book, right? Men who change the map, right? This is going into the Huns and certain barbarous tribes. You see where the arrow's pointing? Zoom in. I want y'all to tell me what's on that spear. Zoom in.
Hey, that's the shield.
That's a shield of what?
Looks a lot like ours.
Shield of David. Right on a spear of the Huns, man. You see that?
Yeah.
Right on the spear. Next slide.
Yeah, that's tough.
Showing you the Israelite culture amongst these people as we're being scattered. Right? Second witness, the Huns. Zoom into the, right? You see the book, Barbarian Europe. Talking about barbarians, black Huns. Zoom into the highlighted part. Another book I have, right? Now you see it says the Huns of Antilia with their booty, right? Which is what? It's a treasure from war, right? Ride through Europe in the 19th century contribution to the eunuch myth by the Spaniard. Look at the picture. Zoom down. Now the booty's white. It's a white woman. Everybody else, of course, it's on a book, so it's a little hard for you to see in a picture. All the Huns are dark skinned. But what they captured as they're conquering Europe is a white woman. You see that? It's right there in their pictures, man.
What's this book called?
Barbarian Europe.
Barbarian Europe.
Barbarian Europe. That's what it's called. Next slide. Matter of fact, let's go up a little. Let's go right here where. Nah, we don't gotta read that. Don't worry. We don't gotta read. Go to the next one. Now, as Barak was saying, the 13th tribe. See, the 13th tribe talks about these people. How do you think he knew about the Israelite culture, the Khazars, if there weren't Israelites around them? Zoom in to the highlighted part.
They hate this dude too.
They always say everything he said was fake.
Yeah.
But there's so many different references to these people. China talked about these people. So how are they fake? I got the sources. You know I got it. So I'll read it, right? Because it might be a little buried. Lastly, the Arab geographer Istan Khoury, one of the main Arab sources, has to say this: the Khazars do not resemble the Turks. They are black-haired and are of two kinds. One called the Kara Khazars, which are black Khazars, who are swarthy, verging on deep black if they were a kind of Indian, and the white kind, the Al Khazars, who are strikingly handsome. This dude is racist, man. This dude is racist, man. This is more flattering, but only adds the confusion, for it is customary among Turkish peoples to refer to the ruling classes or clans as white, to the lower strata as black. Thus, there is no reason to believe that the white Bulgars were whiter than the black Bulgars, right? Or the white Huns right, who invaded India and Persia in the 5th and 6th century. So we could stop right there, right? Even in matter of fact, right here, Escobar's black-skinned Khazars as much else in his colleagues' writings. So you see that amongst the Khazars, there was a group of people that were Huns, that were dark-skinned, and the Huns were labeled as barbarians.
The Khazars from Italy.
No, the Khazars is from the Caucasus Mountains.
That's what I thought they were all Edomites we was talking about.
What page is this?
On the 13th tribe, read the whole book, brother. Scroll down to the next slide.
Facts. Yeah.
You gotta read the whole book. All right, so everybody understands the depth of the barbarians. Khan?
God.
Now we're gonna get in the Scythian, which is probably this is my favorite part. Everybody should know that. Scythians, right? Let me see if I want to go into the PowerPoint first. No, go into the Bible Hub first. So you see Scythian and the inhabitant of Scythia, a Scythian, a typical of the uncivilized, which is right. You see, considered of the wildest barbarians. Go down. Go down. There's Greek right there. Scythia and the inhabitant of Scythia, modern Russia. So, if you look at not ancient Russia, medieval Russia, ruled by the czars, which was untouched by whitewashing. What were the images there? We went over this before. It was dark-skinned images in Russia. To the point, till this day, Putin goes to cathedrals with dark-skinned people all over him. Yeah?
He had a meeting and he opened up, I don't know, I think it was like a book or something. He opened something up, but it was locked in something. And it was a black Jesus, and he showed it at a conference.
For Putin?
Putin.
Hey, shout out to Putin, man. You know what I'm saying? So this is simple history, right? But we're gonna go into it more. Get the next link with the etymology. Zoom in, my good brother. Somebody read that.
It says Scythian, one of an ancient nomadic race living on the steppes of southern Russia. 1540s from Latin Scythia, from Greek Scythia, named anciently given to the region along the north coast of the Black Sea and extending indefinitely north. The Scyths, a Scythian, said to be from an Indo-European root meaning shepherd. The earlier noun was Scyth.
That's good there, right? And you see Herodotus speaks of them and everything, right? Go to the next source. Now, Encyclopedia Iranica, just like you have Britannica, Americana, right? This is their sources because the Scythians originated in Iran.
Yeah.
Iran is the Persian and the Medes, where the Israelites were. Go ahead, read that.
Scythians, a nomadic people of Iranian origin, who flourished in the steep lands of the Black Sea during the 7th to 4th centuries BCE.
7th to 4th centuries, during the time when Israel was carried captive over there. Ed?
For related groups in Central Asia and India, see Sakis in Afghanistan and Indo-Scythian dynasty. See also ASBII among the Scythians.
Clothing of Iranian tribes. Of the Pontic steppes.
Of the Pontic steppes and the Caucasus. Aparna, Apaskay, Sumerians.
So you see the different names that they all going under, the Scythians. Right? Scroll down. Ironica. Right? Go ahead, read.
The name, the English form Scythian, is ultimately derived from the Greek Scythe, via Latin Scythe. The name is also attested in Akkadian text.
Right, which is Asguza'a, right? Iskusa, right? Which is, I actually read that. It's in the front of this book.
Sure.
Right, go ahead.
Comparison of the Greek and the Semitic renderings make it possible to establish the initial form of the ethnome as skua or
Skua. That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, fast. With a voice interdental rendered by a Greek thea and a Semitic z.
So that's you can leave it there, right? Y'all can read this. You got to further read this source. Now this right here is just showing the origin of the Scythians in Iran. Khan? Okay. Let's go. We're gonna go to the PowerPoint now. Show you something. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. Next slide. Zoom in. This is the Khorsabad city, and these are the people who are building it. I want you to take a good look at these people. Look at the fringes. Zoom in a little bit more.
Right at the bottom.
They ain't just at the bottom. They're on the sides. See that? Where the seams meet. Where the seams meet. You see that? These are where the fringes are. Go to the next one. This is a very important city that everybody should study. Khorsabad reliefs. Now zoom in, right? It's a clearer, it's the same picture. It's just, it's drawn out. You see that? Fringes. We got 3 sets of fringes, all where the seams meet upon the garments. You understand? Go to the source I sent you on this city. You're gonna see these are Israelites. That's who these people are. Absolutely, they're Northern Kingdom. Zoom in. Can't see nothing. So, you see that? Khorsabad, the city built by Israelites, right? Whatever became of the so-called lost 12 tribes of Israel in the book of Kings, right? 2 Kings 17:6, we read that. We are told that during the reign of Hosea, a 3-year siege was concluded against the capital city of Samaria. The mass deportations that followed were recorded in both the Bible and the annals of King Sargon of Assyria. The Bible records that the survivors were taken away and resettled in Hala and Harbor on the river Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. The fate of these survivors is obscure, but it was the policy of the Neo-Assyrians to resettle civilian populations in other portions of the empire. These areas themselves having been previously depopulated following their conquest. The Assyrian kings also recorded the employment of captives in the constructions of a large-scale building projects. We can be sure that this was the case at Diaspora, or the city of Sargon, modern Khorsabad. So I can read this a little more, but you see that Israelites building this city. You understand? These Israelites will eventually become to be known as Scythians. And you're going to see that as we keep going, right? Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Put on the whole screen now. There you go. You can read that, bro?
Says, for the Achaemenids, there were 3 types of sakas. The saka tayai, Porwadrya, which means beyond the sea, presumably.
You good, huh?
Presumably the Scythians between the Greeks and the Thracians on the western side of the Black Sea.
Go ahead.
You have the Saka Tigra Zada, the Massacate with pointed caps, the Saka Hamavarga, or the Hama drinkers, furthest east. Soldiers in the service of the Achaemenid army, Xerxes 2 detailed circa 480 BC.
So that's where you find this source right here of these people painted out of the different people of Scythia, which were all underneath the Persians and the Medes. Right? Scroll down. Now this, I'm gonna go into a lot of this in the next lesson as well. Right? Yeah, read that.
So Israel was also known as Sakay, the Persian name for all Scythians, or Gimri, Babylonian way.
Now you see where it says Behustan Rock? Let me tell you something. It's a very important artifact. For instance, like the Rosetta Stone. The Rosetta Stone, the only reason we can understand hieroglyphics is because of the Rosetta Stone. The only reason we can understand cuneiform is because of that rock. Right? And that rock has a lot to do with the scattering of Israel. A lot. Keep reading. There goes Gamori, right? As I said earlier, which eventually became Gauls, which is the Galatians and the Celts. Yeah.
Or Gimri, the Babylonian way of pronouncing Cimmerians, the name of the Scythians, the tomb of Darius, the Behustan Rock, or Bit Kumri.
Kumri. Go ahead.
The Assyrian name for House of Omri stone, or Simri, and Kemeroi, Greek names, or Massacate, same as Scythians. Thus Israel became the Saxons.
Say it again.
Thus Israel became the Saxons.
The Saxons, the Anglo-Saxons, which was people like King James and all of the sovereignty that was in England, right? Anglo-Saxon, meaning the angelic sons of Isaac, right? Even Britain, right? Go to the modern Hebrew. What is the word for covenant? It's Brit, the modern Hebrew. It's Brit, right? What is the word for man in modern Hebrew? Ish, British, the man or the people of the covenant. That's where British comes from, right? Because there were Israelites ruling there. You understand? Yeah, finish it up. Thus Israel.
Thus Israel became Saxons, same as Sakay, Ptolemy, and Scots.
The Scottish. Go ahead.
From Scythians, and Simri, Welsh, from Simri.
You see that? And you see the source, the biblical prophets for today by Keith Malcolm, page 16. Right? Next slide. Little delay.
It says Herodotus, the white father of history, finds our acknowledged ancestors, the Kumri, around 450 BC in the Crimea, and traces them back to Media.
There they go. Qumri right? By Qumri, the sons of Omri, tracing them back to the cities of the Medes. Okay?
At about 60 BC, however, he expressly indicates that Media was not their land of origin. But Sharon Turner, the father of Anglo-Saxon history, takes up the thread and far down the centuries and from Britain traces the Angles, Saxons, Danes.
The Danes. Who the Danes? Danites. Good.
And Normans, all Kimri, all Scots, all Scyths, all Syrians, and all Angles of Angleland back to the Crimea, and joins them to the Cumri of Herodotus and the Cumri of Shalmaneser.
Go ahead.
We are called Kimri or Kimri because our fathers were Baal worshippers.
Because they were Baal worshippers. Why was Israel carried away into captivity? Because they were Baal worshippers, idol worshippers. There's even places, I believe, in the book of Ezekiel where he's saying the children of Baal, man. Right? You see that all throughout the prophets, how they're calling Israelites the children of Baal, man, for being idol worshippers. Go ahead. We are called.
We are called Baal worshippers, and for this reason they were cast out of Simria or Samaria. Is this far-fetched? Come with me to the British Museum and read the tablet of Shalmaneser, who took away the 10-tribe house of Baal. I, Shalmaneser, descended upon the cities of Samaria and took them captive to Beth Cumri. I placed them in the land of Media. I left none of them. Beth is the Hebrew for house. Cumri is the Hebrew for Baal worshiper.
Mm-hmm.
It says
Now you see the source, right? And the reason why Qumri became known as Baal worshiper is because that's what the house was doing. You understand? Scroll down out. Let's go read the next one.
It says the saga of the Scythians is a very long and great one. Is it too long to discuss here? But what must be noted is that the Scythians spread all over Europe. And there are accounts of black Scythians.
Say it again.
And there are accounts of black Scythians.
Okay, come on.
In Britain and Ireland. It must also be noted that not all the black Scythians were of Hebrew stock.
So as I always say, not every single Scythian, not every single barbarian were Israelites. A lot of them were Japheth. You understand? But the ruling class, as it always is everywhere we go, because anywhere we go, we begin to usurp authority because it's just in our nature. We begin to be the rulers. You understand? Go ahead.
Many were ancient Egyptians and Africans in general, as well as the indigenous blacks of early Europe.
Which is Japheth. Go ahead.
What happened to the original black inhabitants of Europe and the black Scythians? Over the centuries, they intermingled with other races, and they also faced genocide, similar to what happened to the blacks of Australia and New Zealand, North Africa, the Middle and Near East, and other parts of the world. Or what happened to the native Indians of the Americas.
So these people were at war with Romans, with Edomites, right? That's why they, a major point of history being known as the Black Plague. The Black Plague was actually blamed on Jews and Israelites in Europe. A lot of people don't know that. And because of that, they said in order to get rid of the Black Plague, they began to go and attack Jews and Israelites in Europe and persecute them because they said they were disgusting people and nasty people. You understand? That's why a lot of expulsions began to happen as well. Khan? Next slide.
It says the nation Scotland, having come from Scythia the Greater, through the Tyrrhenian Sea in the Pillars of Hercules. Thence they came 1,200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea to their home in the west where they still live today.
And you see who wrote that? The 1320 letter to the Pope John. The higher ups knew this. They talking about it, right? Exactly. They still do. They just try to cover it up. But the earth shall help the woman, right? Scroll down. Get you see the house of Isaac. Get Amos 7. What is it? I thought it was 7:16. I might be wrong. It's 7:11. I think it's 7:16. I ain't go there in a while. I think it is. I'm trying to think. It is, right? 16. Read that.
Amos 7:16. Now therefore hear thou the word of the Lord. Thou sayest, prophesy not against Israel, and drop not thy word against the house of Isaac.
You see that? So even in the scriptures in Amos 7:16, you see a name for the children of Israel is the house of Isaac, which is a rendition of the Saxons. You understand? Which were Scythians. Gone? All right. Read.
Says, the Saxons did not go to Germany to obtain their name. They were called Saxons and Scythians centuries before the first European German was heard of. Herodotus says the Persians call all the Scythians Sake. Sayai and Scythopolis has been traced to Scythopolis, the city of Succoth, a corruption of Succoth or Scathoth, the city of the Scots, Scyths, Sacs, or wanderers, dwellers in booths.
Wanderers or dwellers in booths, like Succoth, which is tabernacles, right? Because they were nomadic people. For wanderers, get Hosea 9, I believe it's 9:17. I'm gonna show you how all this history ties into the scriptures, man. Hosea 9:17, read that. So you see the house of Isaac is in Amos 7:16. Watch this. Hosea 9:17.
Hosea chapter 9 and verse 17.
Go ahead.
My God will cast them away because they did not hearken unto him.
Come on.
And they shall be wanderers.
They shall be what?
Wanderers.
They shall be what?
Wanderers.
They shall be wanderers, right here. Wanderers. Good.
Among the nations.
Among the nations. Just like the Scythians were. And this is talking about the northern kingdom. The Scythians were northern kingdom. You understand? Read. Next slide. Now you see the source, the British Israelites, right? And evidences of the Hebrew origin. There's a lot of them, man. Go.
The Sakai, the Scythians, Anglo-Saxons. Sir Henry Rawlinson says the ethnic name of Gimri occurs in the cuneiform records as the Semitic equivalent of the Aryan name Saka or Sakai. Again, the Sakai Scythians were termed the Gimri by their Semitic neighbors. It is very remarkable that in the Achaemenid inscription, the Sakan or Scythic population was widely spread over the Persian Empire, receives in the Babylonian transcripta the name of Gimri, which looks as if this were the Semitic equivalent for the Aryan name of Saka or Scyths.
And you see how it says, perhaps both names originally meant nomad or wanderers. Next slide. Y'all walking with me? All the history tying together, huh? I had to cut like a lot of slides off. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So it says the glimpses of our Celtic ancestors. Right? Zoom into the bottom, huh? Yep. Now, before you read, you see how it says Celts, Israelite, pushed out the sons of Japheth. It's in this source. Yeah, zoom into that bottom part out, where it says Professor Rollins. Or Rollinson.
Professor Rawlinson says that the Celts, who were the first people who arrived in Europe from Asia, their birthplace, who pushed out the sons of Japheth.
Who what?
Who pushed out the sons of Japheth.
Go ahead.
And also that a people were known as Simri or Gimri attained to power in Western Asia and Eastern Europe between 800 BC to 600.
You see that? So these men were in Europe as early as between 800 to 600 BC, man. This is why these kingdoms in Europe began to have a lot of Israelite influence of the northern kingdom.
That's a long time.
A very long time.
That's an extremely long time.
And then afterwards, who went into Europe? The southern kingdom. So the northern kingdom's already there. The southern kingdom begins to go there because of Babylon, right? Even during the time of Paul, did not Paul go where? Didn't he go to Spain? Why did he go to Spain? It's in the scriptures. Why is it called the Iberian Peninsula? Which is Hebrew, Ibar, Iberian Peninsula. These are why all these names begin to get placed there, right? Denmark, which is Dan's mark. Once again, British, Brit being covenant in modern Hebrew, and Ish being man, it's the man of the covenant. Anglo-Saxon, the angelic sons of Isaac.
I didn't know that about Iran. Iran comes from Iran, which is Ephraim's grandson, and Iran in the Hebrew is Iran.
Exactly. Exactly. Everywhere we go, I got you, Lord. Everywhere we go, we are the main influencers. That's why most of the states are actually named after Indian names. A lot of the language in Spanish and French, and they all adopted Indian words. Hurricane. Hurricane's not English. That was what they called it Huracan, right? Just like a hammock. A hammock was a Taino word for their beds, right? But what was you gonna say?
I was gonna ask, so Northern was there around the age around the time of Paul, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
The Southern, so when did the Southern come in again? To inhabit, so that means that the Northern, were they exiled from that land of the European areas?
No, they were there all the way up to the time of the expulsion of the Jews.
So that means
They're still there.
Oh, so that means that Southern and Northern grew together around that time?
Yes.
Okay, when it talks about the Dark Ages?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the southern kingdom began to flourish because they were the ones that kept the oracles of God. So the southern kingdom began to keep the traditions of the Torah and teach the true Christianity.
And then
right?
Northern basically fell
The
off.
northern was just idol worshippers. That was around. You know what I'm saying? But they also were persecuted. You know what I'm saying? So
I heard that Europe was a black queen or something. I don't know how true that.
yeah, Europa.
Europa.
It's actually a black Greek goddess. Yeah, it's Europa. You're right. Absolutely. That comes from Japheth. Right? The Greeks said that they were the sons of Japetus. That's the origin of their people. What's Japetus? That's Japheth. Right? So go back into the slide.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's so that explains how Christopher Columbus took what's his name?
Louis de Torres.
That explains
Translators.
That's okay. The northern. That's okay. That explains
Because we were always around. We were always around.
Makes sense.
We just didn't, like as the scripture says, we didn't hold on to the oracles of God. You understand? That was the southern kingdom. Right?
Maybe it's a good job.
No?
Good job.
Next slide. Zoom out a little bit out.
says the region of Scythia is situated in Europe and stretches toward the east. Its eastern limit is Asia, and its western is the river Ethol, or Volga or Don River. Its people indulge themselves to unnatural acts of venery. They love to go on forays, and in complexion, they are generally black.
They're what?
They are generally black rather than white.
This is in 1225 that they're writing this down. You understand? It's just another source, right? Go to the next one. We should be finishing it. So, look, I need you to see the Scythians, right? Look at them. I need you to see their wear. Scroll up a little bit. I need their helmets and all that. Look at that. Okay? I need you to take a good look at this. Scroll down a little bit.
Carrying ropes.
Scroll down a little bit. Yeah, because they got herds next to them. Right? I need the source out. You need to move them up. There you go. There's a relief of Scythians wearing pointed caps, tribute frieze, right, in the stairway for cave and Persepolis. Right? Go down.
Talking about Cyrus yesterday.
Yep. That's why it all ties in. Right? Now, look, there's a relief in the image of Sickler and Malak plaster mold from the lost original of the end of the 2nd century, right? BC, found in Naples, Scythia. Now you see, right? Same thing. You see the curved hats? Those in the scriptures, those are known as bonnets. The origin right here of a chef's hat and the origin of a beret.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's what Jehu had out in the
I'm about to show that, my good brother. Keep scrolling down. It's all going to tie in.
And the Levites wear the chef's hat, right?
Absolutely, because of the sacrifices to keep it pure. Scroll down. Scroll down, Al. Come on, man. All right, zoom out a little bit. Now you see in Mexico, why is this in Mexico? Amongst the Mayans and the Aztecs, which were really known as the Mexicas.
You know what I noticed?
And look, there,
I was going to say that Jehu has a lot of, if you search up certain kings, they have a lot of history, like certain coins, and it shows the captivity that they were in. Like Jehu, I believe it shows part of Persian captivity inside one of his coins that he has. I forget where that found that at when I'm studying the kings.
So Jehu, you see when he reigned in 841 to 817 BCE. You see, what is he wearing? The same exact cap as the Scythians. That for some reason, the Northern Kingdom, but it's also found, I got to throw gems in there somehow. It's also found in Mexico.
That's crazy.
Why are they wearing the same thing that Scythians and the Northern Kingdom is wearing? Very interesting to me, none the least. Scroll down. See that? Now look at these Scythian coins. I just need you to look at that for a second. Look at my man's on the left. All right? That looked like somebody in Harlem. That looked like a Dominican. That's a Dominican, bro. That's my doctrine. That's a damn Simeonite.
That's Beetlejuice, bro.
That's a Dominican, man. Right? Look at the woman. What white woman, because they like to say the Scythians is white. What white woman's curved like that, man?
Right.
Salakia. I'm just saying. Look at that. I'm just saying, brother. Like real talk. All jokes aside. Like, you can't tell me that these people are white. You just can't. Scroll down. You see the elephants next to it, right? All right, so you right, a complete view and dressing habits of the people in England, blase blah, right? Read where it says the dress of the Scythians. Start right there.
It says the dress of the Scythians and the Thracians was, in many respects, conformable to that of the Persians.
Okay.
And like them, they wore anaxarides, and their tiara, their habits, says Montfaucon, whose authority is derived from ancient sculptures, consisted of the tunic, which in some instances has sleeves that reach to the wrist, anaxarides or breeches, which descend as low as the ankles, and served at once for breechings and stockings. To these may be added the pallium or chlamys, which sometimes also serve for a head cover. Persons of distinction appear with a tunic reaching to the ankles. In one instance, the tunic appears to be fringed at the bottom.
Say it again.
In one instance, the tunic appears to be fringed at the bottom.
They have fringes, man. Scythians. Read.
Sometimes they are represented with the long mantle ornamented with fringes. And in every instance, the tiara or bonnet is the same as that belonging to the Parthians.
The Parthians. Let's go to Acts 2 real quick. Let's go to Acts 2 real quick. They were Jews in Parthia. But before the Jews were in Parthia, primarily there was Ephraim and Manasseh there. See, a lot of people don't teach that Israel didn't just come to America, man.
Right.
A very large and peaceable multitude came here because it was prophecy. The large bulk of the northern kingdom shall be here to be redeemed out of the land of the north. But we're everywhere. You name a place, Israelites is there, man. Go ahead.
This is Acts chapter 2 and verse 9.
Start at 5, just for the context.
Verse
and then
5.
jump down.
And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven.
Now jump down.
Verse 9. Parthians.
Say it again.
Parthians.
Say it again.
Parthians.
So one of the places Jews were at was Parthia. You see right here that they wore similar things that the Parthians wore, the Scythians, with fringes at the bottom of their garments and fringes upon the borders. Con? All right, go back to the PowerPoint. Next slide up. You see Scythians, nomad warriors of the steppe, right? Written 2019. Read that. Read where it says, just read the second paragraph, I believe it is.
And the less well-preserved scene, two bearded figures seated facing each other are engaged in lively conversation. They are both dressed in decorated trousers and wear long belted coats with fringes at the bottom.
With what?
With fringes at the bottom.
Hey, you know, I had to bring another one just to show and improve that they had Israelite customs among them.
Right.
Con? Next slide. Next slide. Now, Salakia, this is Scythian shoes, right? Go back up. You skipping ahead, man. Skipping ahead, man. You're messing up, my good brother. Look at these Scythian shoes, right? Salakia.
Nah, we was not wearing that.
Yes, actually, we were.
Come on.
That's known in the ancient Levant. Like that's serious.
That's some cartoon characters.
Yeah, that's known in the ancient Levant. That's why they would mock us in certain cartoons. This is known in the ancient Levant, right? Upturned shoes. But yo, too much talking, man. But like I said, it's known in the ancient Levant. Now, like I've been around a lot of Mexicans in my day. They wear stuff like this. Your Tazahar, am I bugging? They wear stuff like this. Why? It's part of their culture. You understand? Go to the next slide. I'm gonna show you the comparison. All right. So. Now, right, this is from the Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramids by Peter Thompson, right? It says, after considerable research, brother, can you scroll up, please? Can you scroll up, my good brother? You having technical difficulties? All praises, back in action. After considerable research, she traced the upturned shoes that were found in Mexico, in ancient pre-Columbian Mexico. She found the upturned shoes to either the Hittites or their successors and imitators, the Phoenicians, which was also a term for Israelites, renowned as great seafarers who regularly wore long climbing double robes, turbans with ribbons, pointed beards, and upturned shoes. So impressive is the evidence accumulated by scholars to the effect that the Phoenicians reached the shores of both North and South America. It is hard to understand why it continues to be shunned. Now, if you see the picture on the right, these are images from Mexico, right? Now you see the bells around the belt. That's a Levitical practice. You see the pointed hats, and you see the upturned shoes. These are on temples in Mexico. You understand? Next slide. Showing you the correlation and the relation of Scythian culture that also borrowed things from the Persians and the Medes, and during that same time of the scattering of the Scythians is the same time they came here. Huh?
All right.
Now you see Israelites with upturned shoes on the black obelisk. Known Israelites. You also see a Mayan figure with a turban, right? Which is Israelite custom. You had a Mitrion with the little breastplate, right? Because he was a priest. Scroll down. Even the hats. You see the hats on the black obelisk? Same thing. The same bonnets. Scroll down. Go ahead. Donations, man. We need donations. I'll take pictures for them. You see it? It's coming up. So you see right here. You see this is the 18th century watercolor illustration of a Scythian burial mound. Right? I'm showing this something again for a reason. Right? To show a practice that the Scythians began to do. They began to build burial mounds. Is anybody familiar with what they known as the Hopewell Kingdom of the Indians?
I was gonna say, didn't they build those over here too?
Yes, all the way up and down the Mississippi. They built burial mounds. It's known as earthworks. Scroll down. So you see this, right? This is just a simple picture from the first millennium BC of what? Burial mounds. Right? Just wanted to show an actual picture of it and not a painting. Right? Go to the next slide. We're all going to tie it in. So you see the Hopewell ceremonial landscapes of Ohio. What does it say? More than mounds and geometric earthworks. Hopewell culture, mound builders of the Midwest. So if you study these cultures, it's the same exact thing. It's a crazy correlation to the Scythian culture and the culture of the Israelites in America. That they would have to be doing the same thing. But you're going to see something else very interesting about the Scythians. Go to the next slide. And I want y'all, I'm gonna go there and I want y'all to point it out. The Scythians, right? What you notice? No. That's obvious. No. The man in the middle, what's on his head? No. The man in the middle, what's on his head? It's feathers. It's feather crown, man. If you if you see a lot of the Scythians, especially during around this time, with Darius begins to go to war with the Persians. With the war with the Scythians, it begins to push them out, especially during the land of the Medes, and they began to scatter more. They were wearing feathers, man. Yeah. What did the natives wear over here? Feathers. This just shows you the correlation of where the natives came from.
Yo, that don't even look like Esau.
You know what I'm saying? That looked like a damn Puerto Rican, man. Scroll down. Look like Theo. I'm sorry. Right, look, ancient Scythians, they look at their little pick, man. Yeah, read that. Got a little pick. That's tough. A gold pick?
I buy that.
Come on, man. Come on, a gold pick, brother. They was fire. Yeah, read that.
Says the Scythians were related to a legend popular among medieval Jews who equated them with the lost tribes of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
According to the Bible, the Israelites became lost after the northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrians, who dispersed them among the Medes, who lived in Iran in an area known as Media.
And you see the source there. It's all coming together. We got one more.
Acts 2 verse 9.
Come on. We got one more. One more source. Then we're gonna go into one more on the PowerPoint, 2 more links, and we're gonna wrap it up. Try to keep y'all here all night. Same thing, ancient and modern Britain. Zoom in. Zoom into that yellow. Going off, brother. Hey, you might be right, man. Spirit brought me to New Britain because my ancestors was in Britain, man. That's the spirit of God. Clap it up for the Lord. Damn right. The spirit, man. You gotta move a little bit to the right, brother. I can't read it. Now what's happening? Go down to the highlighted, man. What's going on here, man? What's happening? All right. Now this is the fact. Now this fact is important because it brings us to face with a large and important nation of Scythians who are not only styled black, but who actually were so. The Moreno, tu sabes, Dominicano, right? So this is, so you begin to see all the history ties together, right, and shows that Colossians 3:11, right? And I could have kept going, but I'm not trying to keep that here all night. Kaz gonna leave, Manashah gonna fall asleep. But all jokes aside, you see that this Colossians 3:11 is clearly talking about Israelites. Go to the next link I sent you to show something. Put it on the screen. Bubble show. So the fleur de lis, right? Everybody knows what the fleur de lis is, right? The Saints hat, right? You don't know what the fleur de lis is? Then you know the Saints. Look at the flag. That's the fleur de lis. You know that's pretty much the symbol of the Saints, right? And a lot of royalty in France and all that began to wear that. Go ahead.
I have a quick question. You just reminded me.
Yep.
In the Netherlands, I I watched some. There was a Christmas breakdown that we watched before.
Yep.
That I knew about.
Yep.
And it had a black, and then around that area, the Ireland, Netherlands area, they have a black face as a flag. Like it's obviously
It's a mockery of the Moors,
okay.
right? Of
But they
Spain.
still got it up still today.
Absolutely.
That flag is called.
Absolutely. That's why they do that tradition in Spain with the bulls,
Yeah,
and they run from the bulls.
Oh,
That's a history of the expulsion of the Jews and them kicking out the Moors. Right?
You know, a brewery in Europe that has a black, Moor.
Of course. Of course.
And I think it's like the.
You ever seen the Black Knight with Martin Lawrence? What did they call him? They called him Moor.
Yeah, they call it black.
Right? They show you this in the movies, man. But go ahead, scroll down. We're gonna show the origin of this fleur de lis and how it got into Europe. Right, zoom in. Right, it says the fleur de lis, sometimes spelled fleur de lis, is a stylized lily or iris commonly used for decoration. In fact, translated from French, fleur de lis means lily flower. Fleur means flower, and the lis means lily. You'll likely recognize the symbol, which typically has 3 petals attached at the base, and it is often represented plainly, but an ornament or intricate variations are common as well. Scroll down. See the picture of it, right? You even see this going all the way to Armenia, right? On a temple in Armenia. Well, watch this. Where does it come from? The fleur de lis has been around for centuries. It even appears in relics from ancient civilizations. One of the earliest surviving examples is on a gold helmet from the Scythians, a European nomadic people from the 7th to 3rd centuries BC. So the saint symbol, which was used for royalty in Europe, even used for the people in the knights, right? It was used for the Levites. Even took hold of it that went to New Orleans. That's why it became the saint symbol, right?
Quebec.
Of course, because it was from France. France was the major people that used it, right? But the origin of it was the Scythians used this primarily. Khan? We got one more source. Get that source, page 99, man. People run.
That's crazy. This is
So many people run. You see the source, right? Our race, the origin and history, the series of synods, and the Saxon riddle. Nobody wants to, man. Every time they want to debate the color of Christ. I'm not debating you about the color of Christ. But play it out. I'm not doing that. $99.99. All right. Yep, you can start right there. Why not?
Says the dictionaries generally derive the word Saxon from Sixa, Siax, or Sisan, ultimately arriving at Anglo-Saxon root Siax, or short word or dagger, and note that it was the distinctive weapon carried by the Saxons.
Mm-hmm.
If the makers of dictionaries were always historians, they would have not fallen into this error. The short word was not the distinctive weapon of the Saxons. They were shooters, not thrusters. And short swords, designated by no root sound like the shove, and antedate by centuries the appearance of the Saxons
Slocky said they were shooters.
on the stage of history. It is, moreover, far more probable that if the name Siax is generic to this race of people, it was derived from the redoubtable name of the people themselves, who at close quarters sometimes used it terribly upon their enemies, than that by so extravagant an inversion, it suggested to Saxons a name by which they called themselves. This idea is well expressed by John Pym Heatman in his extensive work on our Shemitic origin.
On our what?
On our
Shemitic origin. Go ahead.
As follows. All German writers after, well, all Germans.
It's always the Germans, man.
Always.
Go ahead.
Wisdom and Timon.
After their manner of putting the cart before the horse, assert that the Saxons were so called from using the sea axe, so the axe from the accents the same as people. But as shooting was distinctively the warlike property of all the northern races, and the handling of the short sword or dagger, strictly southern and Latin, descendants that inhabit these geographical divisions. The Scythians, in particular, were such famous shooters of the bow and arrow and all kinds of darts that the very word to shoot.
You gotta scroll down.
The Scythians, in particular, Scythian is derived from their name. So too, the Scyth was to implement of the people, though not by any means of an origin of their name. In all these cases, rather it is vice versa. They give the name. Now the Saxons are, by all historians, admitted to have
Keep reading.
been the dominant family in the Scythian race. And there are weighty arguments that would fill volumes showing that perhaps the word Saxon is older than Scythian and led directly to it. The sickle was the forerunner of the scythe and shows how the K sound may be dropped, and so the general family name Scythian may perhaps be derived from the Saxon itself and some of its infinite varieties. For the letter K is often changed to C and frequently into X.
Just showing you how language works, right? Keep reading.
In the mouths of the Germans who cannot pronounce the TH, Scythian becomes Sasan, and the Netherlander calls Saxon Scythian. But the Saxons did not go to Germany to obtain their name. They are called Saxons and Scythians centuries before the first European Germans was ever heard of. Herodotus says the Persians called the Scythians Sakai, Sayai, and Scythopolis has been traced to Psychotopolis, the city of Sickoth, a corruption of Sukkoth or Scythoth, the city of the Scots, Scyths, Sacs, or wanderers, dwellers in booths.
Wanderers, dwellers in booths. So this is just another, you can keep reading. This is a good source. This is just another source to prove where they came from, how there's a lot of misconceptions on the Scythians. So, anybody have any questions? Yes, sir. Of course you do.
What is Germany? They call it in Germany. They call it Deutschland, which means people's land.
What does that have to do with the lesson?
Like, because you went over like over this. So you were saying something about. No, I just had a question, like, because you were saying that it's always the Edomites are over there, and I heard something that our people were there as well.
Of course, our people were there.
But I know it was like a mix of Edomites, so I'm just trying to figure out.
What are you trying to figure out?
What time this was happening?
What time? What was happening? I'm asking you sincerely. What time? What was happening? When did the Israelites get kicked out of Germany, or
no? Like, cause I know there's a little story running on, but I know what I'm trying to say.
you gotta ask a precise question. You know, at what time? What was happening?
We'll come back to it.
All right, count. So I answer it as best as I can, right? The Northern Kingdom went into Europe in the 8th and 7th century BC, right? They went and they mingled with Japheth. They also pushed Japheth out of the land. After then Greece began to rise, right? In about the 4th century BC, right? Greece began to get power. The Macedonians began to get power in around the 4th century BC. Conquered Greece, conquered Rome, that through Romulus, which is the powers of Esau conquering Europe, right? So they began to conquer Europe. Then you get a fast forward going into the Maccabean era. Then you get Christ comes, right? Then you get the fall of Rome, and Europe goes into an upheaval of people fighting for lands. But during the Renaissance era, they gained power back, Esau. So they've been there for a long period of time. Does that somewhat answer your question?
Yeah.
You sure? I feel like it doesn't.
I'll get to you another time.
Concert.
Fresh.
Concert. Anybody else got any questions?
Powerful.
Looking to see in the chat.
From the lesson yesterday, don't forget the Scythians also helped take down Nineveh.
Yes, they did. The Scythians destroyed Nineveh. Yes, they did. Absolutely.
So was that when Paul used that in Revelations? When he said
Paul in Revelations? You mean John?
Yeah, when John,
Come.
I think when John used
You good,
used
huh?
that scripture in Revelation when he said, I think it was Paul, I think it was different, I think it was a different book. When he said that,
Quote it.
You rule with us
Oh, as kings?
as kings.
Paul did say that, but that's not right.
That's in
That's in-
Corinthians, isn't that?
I think so.
I think that's in Corinthians. or
It's in
Romans.
Corinthians.
He said you
I'll
rule-
get the precept right now because I got a precept from Revelation 20.
So when he said that, that was a prophecy for the Dark Ages, right?
Yes.
4 and 8.
Yep. 1 Corinthians 4 and 8.
Can you also use that for the Northern Kingdom that was also ruling in Europe?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Herodotus documented a lot of history with the Scythians specifically. They actually ruled over the Medes before they eventually got subjugated.
Yep. That's why Darius and the Behustan stone is very important because it shows you them getting kicked out of their land. This guy shows you them getting kicked out of their land, and that's when they began to spread to Europe. They even went into Far East Asia, right? Which you actually begin to see the origins of certain dynasties in China, going all the way into Japan, right? You could trace it. Right, even in Africa, some Scythians went into Africa, right? But a very large bulk came to America. That all happened during the time of Persia, right? Which I'll teach another class on that one day.
I want to say that makes sense because when Sargon numbered at 27,000, the civil war that happened between Jeroboam and Abijah, Northern Kingdom was at 800,000 men. So it's like if 27,000 he was able to manage and carry away, it makes sense that not all of them he was able to take.
Exactly.
Because they all fled and were able to escape.
Exactly. Matter of fact, I got a precept on that. Where it says those that escaped. I think it's in Chronicles. You know what I'm talking about?
And they came to Hezekiah for Passover.
Yeah, I believe it is. 2 Chronicles 30. Yep, it's 2 Chronicles 30. It's somewhere there. I believe 21 maybe. It's really the bulk of the chapter, but there's a part of it that
The diverse?
it literally says that them that escaped. It literally says that.
I remember.
Okay,
Fresh.
put a pin on it. All right, brother? Give me 1 second. Let's put a pin on that. You see it? Or not? Come on, brother. Ages among us. It's somewhere here, bro.
Or verse 8.
Well, no, verse 9 says, shall find compassion before that led them captive, so they shall come again into the land.
It's so clear. It says those that escaped. I haven't read Second Chronicles in a while. Give us 1 second, y'all. Salakia.
Oh, verse 6.
Verse 6.
Second Chronicles 30 and 6.
Yep.
So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remnant of you that are escaped out of the hand of the kings of Assyria.
You see that? So some escaped. That's why even 2nd Ezra 13, it talks about those that are left at the borders, those that did not leave that land, right? And stood in the so-called Middle East and went into Armenia, began to go into the Caucasus Mountains, go into Europe, go into Russia, go into China, go into Africa, right? But of course, there was a peaceable multitude that came to America and began to build kingdoms here. Con?
Wasn't there a woman of Asher in the New Testament too?
Absolutely. Yes.
The question was the Goths.
Yes.
The Goths.
Mm-hmm.
When you were reading that page, where were they at? Were they still? Because
that was in Europe.
Yeah, but I'm saying when they were, you saying that Edomites were taking counsel and this and that. What were the Goths back then? Like what? I'm trying to figure out what dispensation were they at in.
What do you mean?
Like
in? What do you mean? What dispensation were they in? What dispensation when what was happening? The Goth reigns over a millennia. So you can't just say when were the Goths. That's like saying what was the dispensation of Israelites? Like there's still Israelites today. Right? So I'm trying to understand what dispensation are you asking about?
Like I just put it simple. The Goths, if you could just explain the Goths a little bit.
The Goths comes from the Gauls, which comes from the Galatians, what comes from Gamari, what comes from the Qumri, what comes from the sons of Umri that went into Europe from the 8th and 6th century BCE.
Right.
You understand? I'm not moving to Europe. I'm not going out there. I'll probably go out there to visit with Yeshaya. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna look fly. Levi jeans is like $1,000 out there.
No,
I'm dead serious.
I seen it's not historians, but like your modern day what is it, theologians?
Theologians, yeah.
Which I like. I'll argue with a lot of them on YouTube, but
they be cutting.
No. I be cutting.
I'm messing with you, Ak. Go ahead. You better stop debating, man.
I be getting banned on YouTube a lot.
Come on, bro.
It's because
What's your YouTube page, man? I'm gonna keep an eye out for you, bro. And you got rum with dog.
Nah, yo.
You be getting cut?
I be flaming, but look,
you be flaming?
I be flaming, of course.
Nah, yeah.
They try their best, like when they don't want to debate you or when you cut them, they want to like say they want to go on a rant, and then their point would be basically like proving how false migration is, right? Because nobody believes that Black people were in Europe because they think that everybody in Africa is Black. So they think
well, it's like
African
the best way to explain it is like look at America.
Right.
Who rules America right now?
So, right.
Who's the highest population in America right now? So if they can do it to America, why can't they do it anywhere else?
Right.
That doesn't like that. That's a nonsensical argument. Doesn't make any sense at all. Because if they can do it to America in a couple hundred years, they could do that anywhere in a couple hundred years, especially when we're talking about a span of a millennia. Now let's go back 1,000 years. It's just, that's just stupid arguments. You know what I'm saying? It's just dumb. Well, we're going to go back to Colossians 3 and 11. And I'm going to show you how I didn't even need to do none of that history. I didn't need to do none of that because the Bible really answers it itself. Right. I don't have to, even though it's very good to understand it, it's needed, right, for a theologian. But in the streets, somebody debating you and they bring this up to you, you're not going to have time to be like, well, you're not going to have time, right? He's going to say, you wrote that book. Something stupid, right? Read that. Colossians 3 and 11.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 11. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Christ is all and in all.
Right? We just proved that all of those are Israelites. Khan, read the next verse.
Put on therefore as the elect of God.
Say it again.
Put on therefore as the elect of God.
Who's the elect of God? I need a precept.
Oh, you can say that to simile.
Isaiah 45 and 4. Don't start. I don't want to hear no simile nonsense. That's when I kick you off the stage or something. I'm not dealing with this brother, man. Go ahead.
Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect.
And Israel mine elect. So the very next verse says that these people who are known as barbarians and Scythians and Greeks and uncircumcision, that these people are the elect. The elect are Israelites, according to the Bible. There's no if or buts about it.
Yeah, another problem with it is none of that describes any ethnic group.
None of it.
And if you try to put it towards an ethnic group, then you would have to put it towards all ethnic groups. So we know that some ethnic groups have a genocide awaiting them. You know, that they have slavery awaiting them. They have all sorts of prophecies awaiting specific ethnic groups. So this can't apply to everybody.
It can't at all. It's a very good point. It's a very, very, very good point. Anybody have any other questions? Point making? Anything of that nature?
Did you know that Netherlands means lower countries?
Yes.
All right.
You're a scholar. Manashah is a scholar. Clap it up for Manashah, man. Damn right. Nothing else, nothing from the chat. I'll wait a second, see if there's any questions in the chat, man. See if there's any questions in the chat. If not, no, you're not. You're not. You got the Psalms?
This is Psalm chapter 119. This is Tazad. Righteous art thou, O Lord, and upright are thy judgments. Thy testimonies that thou hast commanded are righteous and very faithful. My zeal hath consumed me because mine enemies have forgotten thy words. Thy word is very pure, therefore thy servant loveth it. I am small and despised, yet do I not forget thy precepts. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. Trouble and anguish have taken hold on me, and thy commandments are my delights. Thy righteousness of thy testimonies is everlasting. Give me understanding, and I shall live. In the name of YHWH, SHAMI, the water of Yad, Amen.
Amen.
Amad Shabbat. Amad Barak. Yahweh Shem Yahshua Brakatham.
Yahweh Shem Yahshua Brakatham.